Okay, as soon as you get that drone fired up, Bill?
My dad is stubborn. He really is, and I put that in the best way possible. He doesn't care what anybody else has to say. If you want something, he's gonna go for it.
And I'm proud that you guys came out here and decided to do this with me.
Thank you. I think that's what I admire about him the most.
It's very admirable to see someone be deteriorated on everything they're trying to do in their life, and see someone just stand up against the grain of what everyone else is thinking. It's something extremely to be proud of, especially knowing that man is your father, that man who's going against the grain, changing something for once in the film industry is your father.
Hi everyone, my name is Rowena Rain. I am a wife of John Rain. John Rain is one stand-up guy that actually he have everything figured out when it comes that heat of the moment that it rises, and he seems to overcome and any obstacle that it will come. It's for me. I always say that I will deal with it when it happens. So he has more to it than I am, because it's a lot. It's a lot to direct. It's a lot behind the scenes going on.
Hi everybody, Rock Dude here.
And Marky Z, and welcome to another awesome episode of the
Rockin' House.
Special Gearheads presentation of Polestar Pictures. We've got John Rain, his partner Joe Sabatino, a major 30-year career in music and television.
They're coming to the show, Mark.
They're coming to the show, but Mark Weiss is also a partner who couldn't be here today, but he's also a big deal. And he got A-listers in the background.
And if you don't know, Mark Weiss is a big music mogul, is what I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. And they're the partners in the motion
Polestar
picture company.
Pictures.
And two of the guys are coming on the show today, Mark.
John Rain and Joe Sabatino.
Joe Sabatino's been, in movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, movie credits up and down, producer credits, Joe Sabatino, A-lister. They're all A-listers, so we're excited to have them on today. And this is good for people who like vampire movies. They're going to be talking about the one they came up with. I think it's going to be totally twist on it. It's going to be from a biblical standpoint, Mark.
And facts.
Historical sound vampire movie. It's definitely going to be one that you've never seen before, and I don't believe there's anyone been done like this. So
nope, and it's going to be a trilogy called Vampire Penance. Freaking really cool.
So these guys got a bag of tricks, and they're going to be talking about their new project, the vampire movie, and
what's going on in the future.
What do they call that vampire movie, Mark?
Vampire Penance. I just mentioned that, the trilogy, which means there'll be 3 of them, which is so cool. And of course, Sabatino will be the lead in the movie, I believe. And
we definitely got clued in who else is behind the scenes with this Polestar movies.
Pictures. Polestar Pictures. Mm-hmm.
All-star cast that puts this company together.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's working with some major names.
Yeah, it's all great. So we're going to be talking movies today and vampires and
even some music.
Let's get it on, Mark.
All right, let's bring on John Rain and Joe Sabatino. Welcome to our edition of Gearheads on the Rockin' House. All right, this is Marky Z with my partner Rock Dude, and welcome to another awesome Rockin' House as we're doing a special edition of the Gearheads. We've got from Western Pennsylvania, about 45 minutes off of around the area of Pittsburgh, I believe he told me. John Rain, Polestar Pictures. Man, he's the man. The many things that he does. Magician. He's been an Elvis impersonator. Builds these fantastic Hollywood-looking models that could be used in movies. John Rain, I want to welcome you finally to our show, Gearheads. Welcome, brother. We're glad to have you today.
Really, really happy to be here, Marky.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. John, I want to start. Where do we start with a guy like you? I want to start with how things started with you, man. Like, how did you get involved in the entertainment business? What drove you to want to do the things you do?
Well, okay, there's that's a long story.
Well, let's do the
I don't know
short
if you have-
version.
I don't know if you have enough program time here for all of this.
No, we'll do the short version. It's all good.
My life has been a series of stumbles and fumbles into things.
Okay.
I never went out intentionally and said I was going to be an Elvis impersonator. I was going to work
It just
magic.
happened.
I never did any of that. No.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I actually ran away from home when I was 15, and I was actually homeless for about 2.5 years.
Oh my God.
Living under a bridge.
Wow.
And
John.
one thing led to another. A very prominent contractor took me under his wing, gave me a job, took care of me, and I started being able to do a few things.
Right.
So my first break was really with I guess the Elvis thing. That was kind of a big break, if you want to call it a big break.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Still
Well,
entertainment.
it was cool when it started.
Of course,
it was like, wow, I'm going to do Elvis. Oh, okay, cool. And, after you do it for a week, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm doing Elvis. And you do it for, 3 weeks, like, oh, yeah, I'm doing Elvis.
You're getting
And
tired
2.5
of it.
years later, you're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I got you.
Yeah. So then I was very young. I was under 21.
Okay.
And I started hanging out at Pierre's Magic store down in Hollywood, California.
Nice.
And I started meeting magicians down there.
Okay.
And I started doing sleight of hand stuff. And one thing led to another. I was one of the first young guys in the Magic Castle.
Nice.
I went on. I worked with Shimada, Slidini. All the names in Magic.
Right.
And then I was also opening for, well, I wasn't opening. It was the Donnie Marie studio, the Osmond studio, which was in Orem.
Okay.
They only had one sound stage there.
Right.
So when they would break down the acts, they would bring other stuff in to set up for the next act.
Wow.
And I had to go out and keep the studio audience occupied. So I'd go out and I'd do these little magic tricks and stuff.
Very cool.
And yeah, that's where I met Doug Henning. He was doing a show there for craft.
Okay.
And we got talking, and he liked some of the illusions that I did, and that's why I met him. So once again, that's like stumble fumble.
Yeah, just think different opportunities open up for you. That's really cool. And then, of course, we could fast forward and things. I know you do these really cool models and things like that. I mean, they're unbelievable, these miniature models that you create, and you could totally use them on set for Hollywood movies. They're that amazing that you craft these models. Everything from Psycho House to Halloween. I mean, just like crazy.
Well, there's two different phases of me when it comes to model building.
Yeah.
There is the models that I do for low budget films.
Yep.
Commercials.
Very
Those
cool.
are usually all done in 1/12 scale.
Wow.
And then when I'm just relaxing because it's therapeutic to me,
Yep.
I just build and create whatever I
Right.
want. And I try to use materials that I have on hand, which
Right.
makes it very interesting.
And then just cycling back to when you were a kid, you said this is when it all started with the model thing. You started building these cool little guns, and the kids were liking them better than what they had.
Yeah, my dad was my stepfather was a carpenter.
Okay.
So he had a lot of stuff out in the garage, and he was at work most of the time. If he knew I was doing anything with the stuff, I probably would have been killed. But
Right.
yeah, I grew up pretty poor. So the other kids had all these really cool Johnny Ranger guns and everything, and I didn't.
Right.
So I had to make something that was, where I could play guns with them. So I'd make these guns, and they were like, holy shit, that's pretty cool.
Wow. So then John got his ropes right there to learn how this goes all the way into the future to build the models you make today. That's where it all started when you were a kid. Being very creative and not having many things to work with. You had to build things and create yourself. And you've been like that for years. So
Well, necessity is the mother of all invention.
awesome. And then how did you get involved with your first opportunity with film? How did that happen for you? I mean, that's pretty
Another
amazing.
long story. I'll cut it short for you. A friend of mine, I was in a slump, Whoops.
Joe Sabatino used this.
That's Joe calling me right now.
That's okay.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, John, I think I'm all set.
You're all set?
Yeah, sorry, dude. I was dead asleep, but I was speaking.
All right. I'm going to hang up for you, and they'll be getting hold of you here in just a minute or so.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm on my Facebook, and I pulled up the messenger, right?
Yeah?
Yep.
And then what are they going to send us, a link or something?
Yeah, you'll send him a link to join in.
Yep, we'll bring you in, brother.
To join in, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
All right.
brother.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, we'll have Joe on momentarily. John, back to what we were talking about with the film.
Yeah. And they helped me make my very first film, which was a low-budget film. I'd never done film before.
Nice.
It was an absolute train wreck. But nobody kicked me in the groin for it. You know, they kind of rallied around me and said, hey, this is what you need to do. And I just kept going, and I've been doing it ever since.
Right. And also I want to touch on, before we go to our little break here, you also were involved in the music business. You told me you managed some big-name bands. You got involved with that, too.
Well, that wasn't really managing. I was promoting.
Promoting. Okay.
Yeah, and I worked for several large promotion companies that were
Right.
going on back in the day. So I did promotions with like Fish, Bush. I even did some things with Kiss.
Nice.
Back in the day.
Yep.
Big arena type stuff. And I also did, some of the iconic people like Johnny Cash.
Nice.
I did Willie Nelson.
Nice.
It was fun.
So cool. All right, well, we're going to come back with John Rain and talk about what he's presently doing in just a moment. Don't go nowhere. All right, this is Marky Z back again with John Rain, Polestar Pictures, and now we have joining us Joe Sabatino, who is also a partner with John Rain and Mark Weiss. Joe, first let me welcome you to our Gearheads episode on the Rockin' House. You're coming in from sunny Los Angeles, California. We are very happy to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mark. My pleasure to be here. Hey, John, how are you?
What's up, my friend?
Good.
All right, well, let's talk about a little bit of your background, Joe, and then I'll go back to John. How did you get started in acting? I mean, you have like a 30-year plus career in this, right?
Wow, it's so long. I think with the Alzheimer's that set in, I really forget. I always wanted to do it. As crazy as it may seem, I had an uncle who was an actor.
Okay.
And he lived out in California, here in Los Angeles.
Nice.
And he was kind of successful. His name was Johnny Seven. And I always loved his acting name because back in the day, they chose these quote-unquote stage names.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I would always watch him on television, whether it was Bonanza, The Twilight Zone, Gunsmoke.
Nice.
And
I watched all of it.
Yeah. My uncle was fortunate enough to act opposite Jack Lemmon
Wow.
in the 1959 Oscar-winning movie The Apartment.
Oh, wow.
And he was a major player. So seeing him as a young kid on television all the time,
wow,
it kind of, I guess fixed in my brain that, hey, wow, if you want to do this, it's possible. So
right.
that was really the impetus.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, name a couple movies you've been in. I think Batman Forever is one of them that I saw, and there's God knows how many more.
Yeah. I've been in a couple of Batman movies. Batman Forever with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice.
Batman and Robin opposite Tommy Lee Jones and Jim.
Nice.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. And was Jim Carrey in that one? Yes.
Yeah, the Joker, or no, he was the
Yeah, he played the Joker.
Yeah,
No,
he was the Joker.
The Riddler.
Then, it was in The Ring, Rocky 5.
Nice.
And then a whole bunch of television shows from, just tons of TV.
Dude, Rocky 5, I'm from South Philadelphia, man. Rocky was shot right down the street from my house. I live in one of those little homes.
Yeah, well, what was so funny, that's incredible. I mean, what a environment to shoot in.
Yeah.
But Rocky was, that was so cool to be a part of, since Sylvester Stallone was, I'm such a fan of Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, yeah.
And just his career and actually working with him and Tommy Morrison and having that experience was just so surreal. I remember when I was doing a fight scene with Tommy Morrison and Sly was directing us. I actually was working there going, is this really happening? We're at Warner Brothers, and I'm just like, and I'm talking to him I'm talking to Sylvester Stallone. Like, it was just crazy.
That's
a
so
lot of
cool. Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to John, and I want to talk about, John, how, I know you started, your film company and things like that, but things snowballed into some amazing successes already, and it's still moving in that direction. Now you have Mark Weiss with you as a partner. Joe joined forces, and I think some other people joined forces. Let's talk about these exciting things that are happening for Polestar Pictures.
Well, first off, nothing snowballed.
No?
Touche, John, touche.
It took a long minute to get where we're at.
Yep.
And I say this all the time. Things didn't really start to move until Joe Sabatino came on board with us.
Okay.
And everything that he brought with him for Polestar Pictures.
Nice.
And then from there, we met some other people. I'm going to let Joe talk about that, because Joe, he's the guy that, he was the connection. He was the guy. I know a guy that knows a guy.
I know a guy, eh?
Yeah.
I know a guy, eh, Joe?
But he really did. He really did know a guy.
That's right.
And, Joe's got huge, mad respect in the world of Hollywood, which is hard to come by today.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the guy that kind of was the glue to get these other people on board. And Joe also has become like a really solid mentor to me. Amazing. And I tell him this all the time. Yeah, he pushes me. He's always striving to get more.
I love it.
And make things bigger than they are. I know when I was first talking with him, when I first met with him, and I was all proud of my scripts and everything, and he'd get through it and he'd say, well, John, that was good, but what about if we do this when this happens? And I was like, holy crap, yeah, that's a really great idea. So I'd go back and I'd finagle it back in and I'd get Joe back on the phone. And so he's really taken our film Vampire Penance, which started out as a really small film called Evergreen is the Blood.
Absolutely.
And what we brought it to is something that's the Da Vinci Code, Indiana Jones, and a vampire tale that's just epic in proportion.
I love it.
So, yeah. So I'm going to let Joe talk about how things happened, what came on, and where we're going, because he's the man.
All right, Joe, let's take the floor here. He says you're the man to talk about this. Let's hear it, brother.
I'm so embarrassed. Stop it, John. No. John, the way he talks, it's just, gosh, it's so inspirational. But when John says, I did whatever, John knows this, Mark knows this, right. Dan knows this, and Larry, those are our partners.
Right.
And it's almost like we have something really unique here.
Yeah.
Where we really just feed off of each other.
I love
it's
it.
So incredible because, Mark, we'll have a meeting.
All right.
And then after the meeting, we all then talk individually and go, "Oh my gosh, that was incredible!" This idea and that idea and this idea.
Gotta love it.
So, I think what we have here is something unique, and the reason why I say that is because I think it's the person. When it comes to filmmaking.
Uh-huh.
I always think filmmaking is academic, but it's the people involved because it's always about the people. It's always about the team. And that's, I think, the special thing that we have is we have a group of people that genuinely love and respect each other.
I love it.
And, that especially Mark Weiss.
Yeah.
And Dan Sanchez, Larry Mealy, John. It's when we talk, it's just we all admire each other.
I love it.
And John has said, "Oh, Joe does this," but I have to tell you, I've been in this business 30 some odd years,
mm-hmm.
and when John will we'll talk about the script,
right.
and I'll go, "Hey, John, did you ever think about doing this?" And then John said, "Joe, we can do that." And then he'll lay out 100 other things we can do. And I'm like, yeah, that's where I was going. And I'm like, oh my God.
Joe, I'd like to interject and say he is a creative force to be reckoned with.
Oh my God. When it comes to the writer of the script.
Yeah.
This is all come from the mind and the heart.
Yeah.
Of John Rain, and we're his partners, and we say, hey, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this.
Yeah.
And here's the one beautiful thing that I just truly love about John is he sits, he listens, he truly thinks about it, and then you can just see how he starts picking up momentum with like a new idea, and he'll run with it. And here's the beautiful thing about Vampire Penance, which John has created, and he works a lot with Harry Sheehanwolf.
Yes.
And when John comes back, and then we reconvene on the idea, but they've blended this whole vampire lore, and here's where it gets really scary.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love it.
It's blended with facts. I'm getting goosebumps, John, as I'm saying this. But
me too.
It's blended with factual information. And then, Mark, you say, wait a minute, whoa, how vampire lore with factual information?
Now it's really getting interesting.
No, and I'm not even clowning around.
I love it.
John and Harry have blended this with factual information from the Bible and from Adolf Hitler, General George Patton in World War II.
Wow.
So
amazing.
This is no joke stuff. And when the movie comes out, people will actually be able to reference what we're doing in the Bible and in factual literature. So that's why we're so convinced this movie is kind of going to change the way we look at vampire lore, how we receive it, and the movie's going to make a lot of noise.
I'm loving it, man. And I'll tell you what, we're going to come back, guys, and we're going to talk about what's in the future as well as what's going on with Vampire Penance, because believe it or not, I have opportunity to be involved in some of John Rain's films, and we'll talk about that when we get back in a minute. Thank you. Don't go nowhere. This is Marky Z, and I'm back with John Rain and Joe Sabatino. Welcome back, as we're going to talk about what's in the future for Polestar Pictures. John Rain, we'll start with you, brother. What are we looking at? I know that this new movie is the big thing, is Vampire Lure, that even has some facts, as we were discussing earlier. Let's talk about the future of what's going on here with this.
Yeah, the script has really grown from 2.5 years ago.
Nice.
And we've been putting a lot of time and effort in concocting the entire story so that there's backstories and there's future stories.
Nice.
It's become part of a trilogy. Okay. And we're kind of like Star Wars, starting in the middle.
Right, there you go.
We're gonna hook you, and then you're gonna want to see where this goes. And
I love it.
Gonna see, where did this all start from? How did these vampires become vampires?
It's awesome.
So yeah, where we're at right now is in the finalized days of moving really forward with getting principal photography dates scheduled,
nice.
Finalizing the actors, which Joe, by the way, is the lead character role of John Wolfe in this film.
Really?
And he's going to be he's going to be carrying that role over into both the prequel and the sequel. The sequel, pretty much the same character. The prequel, a little bit differently of ancestry descent.
Wow.
But yeah, he's the big glue for all of this right now.
I love it. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Joe, how's that feel? I mean, you're still doing your thing. Now you got this new awesome opportunity here. John's excited. Everybody's excited. You're excited. This is great stuff.
Yeah.
How's it feel about it?
I think, Mark, this is one of those special projects.
I love it.
That it far surpasses work, so to speak.
Right.
This, not to be cliche, but this does become a labor of love.
Right.
And I think where we all are at in our careers, Dan Sanchez, Larry Mealy, Mark Weiss, John, myself, this is truly a labor of love. And I think what separates what we're doing versus every other motion picture out there, we're attacking this from a whole different vantage and viewpoint, where we're making a movie and John is that driving force, and that creative force, the artistic force.
Yep.
I mean, it's funny whenever I introduce John to anyone and I start opening up the world of John Rain, everybody, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And then it's just, here we go. And then I just start saying, look at what John created. Look at what John did. Look. And then it's just, it gets crazy.
I love
and
it.
It's a lot of fun. But I think what really separates us, in addition to John's creativity, is we're looking at this, like John said, as a trilogy.
Right.
So that's going to be something special.
Oh, yeah.
Into that, we have, in addition to that, think about it. We're releasing a mobile video game.
I love it.
On that mobile video game, we're going to look at NFTs. We're going to be looking at game. This is influences. This is something that they're just starting to talk about in the film industry. And here we are digging right into it.
I love it.
So we actually, our team actually came up with a lot of the groundbreaking ideas for a new way behind distribution of a major motion picture.
I'm loving it.
And
great.
Yeah, they really have to take credit where credit is due for that.
Sure.
I know Dan is kind of spearheading the game. He's kind of spearheading all the connections with distribution.
Nice.
Larry Mealy jumping on with all of that. Yep. So very blessed that way. Yep. And one of the things I'd like to say is this is going to be my first film where I didn't act in it.
Yeah, so you were a lot in your films. That's right.
You know what? I never wanted to be an actor. In all the things that I've done, I always ended up stumbling in because I had to fill in a role or something.
Right.
So to be able to sit back as a director and really create this vision and work with the people that are coming on board. I mean, we got some really cool people coming on board with this.
Yeah.
One of those is Steve Tolan from Tolan FX that did all the effects in Batman Dark Knight Rises.
Nice.
He did Jack Reacher. He did some pretty impressive things.
Wow.
So for me to sit back and just take the director's hat instead of low budget indie film where I'm a director, I'm a prop guy, I'm helping my wife cook food, I'm sweeping up after everybody. So it's really allowing me to really put everything I have creatively into this film and bring the best people on board to make this the biggest film that I can possibly make it. So for me, this film is more than just a film. It's going to be my turning point where I'm really going to step up and say, this is what we can do.
And John, go ahead, Joe.
You know, I just to add and piggyback onto what John is saying, I said before, it's every time we have a meeting, we go, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know, Dan, you know, knows this one, or Larry knows this one, or Mark, or whatever. And just in our last meeting, it was so funny. And I think we're leaving out, for instance, Dan Sanchez and Larry Mealy. Let's just look at you guys for a second.
Sure.
Dan was on the board of Lionsgate.
Wow. That's big. That's big.
Number one, and he's on the board of a few other major corporations.
I love it.
And, you know, when guys are talking, I mean, Larry Mealy and him, they're actually looking right now at creating and closing a deal in Cuba to bring cable television to Cuba.
Wow.
And then as we're talking, they're like, hey, John, you remember this one? Well, you know, we know so-and-so in China. Let's get distribution throughout China. I'm like, what do you guys, you know, it's, so when we talk about this,
wow,
everyone is so connected in their own way that coming together exponentially, we, you know, Polestar Pictures just becomes so strong and it becomes such a player. So that's why this Polestar Picture franchise, I mean, when we think about it on a really high level, you've got 3 feature films, you've got a mobile video game, and then you've got a television series that we're going to pitch off of it.
Wow.
So Polestar Pictures, I mean, conservatively is a 10, 15-year franchise.
Wow. That's awesome. Well deserved.
That we're all going to be together for a while. And it's going to be a great ride. And the ride has already been great. And it's just, you know, they always say, you know, when you're doing something, everybody, a lot of times people in industry, whether it's the entertainment industry or just corporate America, a lot of people are just results orientated. And I think the difference of us is I think we're process orientated in the fact that this whole process and how it's playing out, our relationships growing, you know, we've gotten so super tight, and just keep every meeting, everything just keeps growing, and you sit there and you scratch your head, and we all say at different, you know, times we go, oh my gosh, we are involved and have created, and when we say we, you know, we have created something so unique here that's going to be so powerful.
That's amazing.
That's why this is something truly special.
I pinch myself every day. I mean, it was a big deal when Joe came on. Really, honestly, I'm sitting around talking to Joe Sabatino, and then when Dan came on, it was very surreal for me.
Wow!
I remember just the other day, Dan and I had a Zoom meeting with some of the people that are behind the creative aspects of putting this game together.
Wow!
And I'm talking to Dan Sanchez on the phone, the guy that used to run Lionsgate, and he's doing $12 billion companies. And I get on the phone with Joe, and Joe's like, well, how did it go? What's this going on? And then Joe goes, John, do you realize you have a one-on-one relationship with Dan Sanchez? And I was like, yeah.
How about it, man?
It's really mind-blowing.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I want to say to both of you guys, as we're near a close here, thank you for coming and being a guest on the show. We appreciate John Rain. My relationship with you, John, I'm hoping that it becomes something even bigger into the future here, as it's been positive.
Well, Mark, we got one of your songs on one of your films already.
Wine Creek, and I'm excited on Tubi. So cool.
Yeah, and it's getting some good reviews for a low budget horror film.
Nice.
So I know there's a couple of songs that you've got and that you've sent to me.
Yeah.
And we here at Polestar are very excited about looking at the prospects of working with you in the future with something.
Thank you so much, guys. That means the world to me, man. And Joe, it was a pleasure. The person that you are in this business, to hook up with John, he couldn't get blessed any better. I mean, I got to say thank you so much again for being a guest on our show. As I'm Marky Z and Rock Dude, and we're out.